Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Welcome to our webinar today, co-presented by Blues Wireless and Datacake. As you can tell by the title, today we're diving into creating IoT asset tracking applications, and we'll be creating these solutions with hardware and services provided by Blues Wireless and the low-code platform provided by Datacake. Effectively, what we're going to be doing today is taking data acquired by our Blues Wireless hardware configured as standalone asset trackers. Which, yes, that data can look something like this giant mess of JSON. But we're going to take that data and we're going to make it look far more gorgeous, and more importantly, more usable with Datacake. So Datacake lets you add engaging visuals from graphs and charts to scales and maps, all kind of great reports, all with writing very little code to no code at all. Now, some quick logistics before we really start today. If you run into any problems with audio dropping out or video stuttering or random network issues, rest assured there will be a recording of the webinar available on YouTube in the coming days. You'll find it on the Blues Wireless YouTube channel at bit.ly/blues-youtube. You'll also receive a link in a follow-up email. While you're there, I'll shamelessly suggest subscribing to our channel on YouTube. Now, as a quick introduction to our speakers, first up today will be the guy you see in the corner. That's me. My name is Rob Lauer, and I'm Developer Relations Lead here at Blues Wireless. Many of you I've interacted with on the Blues Wireless Developer Forum already, so hello to all of you. If you find yourself on Twitter these days, you can find me there. Ask questions at Rob Lauer. So I'll be covering the Blues Wireless hardware asset tracking solutions today, and then I'll be handing things off to Simon Kemper. So far more importantly, Simon Kemper, who is founder and CEO of Datacake, he's going to show off the Datacake platform and make some sense of all the asset tracking data we send his way. Also be sure to follow Datacake on Twitter, and not to completely ram social accounts down your throat or anything, but you can of course find both Blues Wireless and Datacake on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. We know everyone consumes their social in their own ways, so rest assured we are on the platform you are using. So give a follow if you're interested. Now, if you're new to the Blues Wireless ecosystem of hardware and services, first off, welcome. We're very glad you're here. At Blues, our mission is to make cellular IoT easy for developers and affordable for all. So our focus is on securing your data from the moment it's acquired by a sensor all the way through to landing on your cloud application of choice. All of our hardware solutions are low power out of the box, to the tune of 8 microamps when idle. We're also very much a developer-focused company. Most of us at Blues here are current or former engineers, so we know the pains you all experience and are building solutions really to ease your IoT connectivity burdens. Now, to help visualize where Blues Wireless fits in your IoT solution, let's start with your sensors. You're acquiring data of all types, from location, temperature, humidity, motion, gases, and so on. This data is likely processed by a microcontroller or a single board computer, but you need to get that data to your cloud. So you'd then be using the Blues Wireless Notecard to securely deliver data over cellular to our cloud service Notehub. Notehub then lets you route data to your cloud of choice, which today is Datacake. So Notehub takes a lot of the pain out of securely transferring data and conforming to whatever data structures your remote endpoint is anticipating. Now, zooming in on our hardware, the Notecard is the core of what we provide. It's a low-power cellular and GPS module measuring a tiny 30 millimeters by 34 millimeters. It does have an M2 edge connector for embedding in your project. The API, the way you interact with a Notecard, is all JSON. Gone are the days of archaic AT commands to manage your cellular modem. We also have SDKs for Python, Go, Arduino, and C. And there are Notecard varieties that work globally, using NB-IoT, LTE-M, and Cat1 cellular standards. However, to make it easier to use your Notecard when you are prototyping or when you're ready to embed in a permanent solution, we provide note carriers. These are development boards that allow you to snap in a Notecard and connect it to virtually any solution you can dream up. The Note Carrier AF, for example, this includes a Feather-compatible socket. The A model includes headers that let you hook it up to any microcontroller you want. The B is a small form factor note carrier, and the note carrier Pi is a Pi hat for working with any Raspberry Pi compatible single board computer. Finally, again, Notehub is this Blues Wireless cloud service that receives data from the Notecard and in turn routes it to your cloud application of choice. Within Notehub, you can also manage fleets of devices, and you can update both host microcontroller and Notecard firmware over the air. Pretty cool. And again, Notehub is all about securely transmitting data from both the Notecard and to your cloud. So I want to bring up this image one more time just to drive home where Blues Wireless fits, truly making it easier to deliver data over cellular to your cloud. And while you can imagine a myriad of uses of cellular IoT, today we are narrowing in on asset tracking. It's a very common scenario where we're tracking not only the location, but other physical environment variables, and actively reporting that data in near real time to the cloud. So we can then, of course, view the status anytime, anywhere. And if you're at all familiar with the asset tracking capabilities of the Notecard, you're probably then familiar with the card.location.track API. This is a great example of the JSON-based API we provide. Now I'll show you how to fully configure a standalone asset tracker, but really the simplicity of this API is pretty fantastic. So in this example, I'm calling card.location.track. I'm telling it to start tracking now, and telling it to save tracking data in a note file on the Notecard called locations.qo. So Notecard is going to store sensor and location data in this file and sync it up with Notehub over cellular on a cadence you specify. And while you can absolutely use an asset tracker with an attached microcontroller or single board computer, the beauty of what I'm going to show you today is that you don't need to. Everything you need is in this picture: a note card with a note carrier A. Now with a LiPo battery attached, what you see here becomes a production-ready asset tracker that can last for days, weeks, months, depending on the size of the battery and your power configurations. Pretty cool. However, some of you with a keen eye may have noticed I dropped a little hint in our invites to this webinar. We actually have a new product coming out soon that I'm super happy to showcase today. Soon you'll be able to buy an external GPS mobile tracker hat that fits directly on top of the note carrier A, the same note carrier I showed in the previous image. You can see front and center here, this hat uses a Quectel L86 GNSS module, which has amazing performance in both acquisition and tracking of GPS satellites. It can also calculate and predict orbits automatically, using up to 3 days of accumulated data, so it can fix position quickly and with low power consumption, even when signal levels are lower. And power consumption when tracking is a low 26 microamps. Now a good question is, why would you want to use a tracker hat along with an existing note carrier A? Well, I would say if you want to use cellular data and GPS concurrently. So if you think about it, with a standard note carrier A tracker setup, your cellular module has to switch back and forth between cellular to send data and GPS to track location. Now while this works fine for many implementations, there are certainly times when these lag times of restarting and finding new cell towers or GPS satellites takes too long. Maybe you miss out on a couple of minutes of location data as the system switches functions. It's not an issue any longer with this external GPS hat. Second is this feature known as hot start. So with this tracker hat, GPS signals will be super quick to lock on because the almanac and ephemeris data is going to be retained between GPS readings. Now with a standard note carrier A configuration, some of that data is retained, but not all of it, and that's actually called a warm start. Finally, of course, as I showed you, the convenience of adding this to an existing note carrier A tracker can't really be matched. It fits right on top. All right, enough of me kind of talking at you. What I'd like to do now is show off how to configure a note card plus note carrier A as a standalone tracker. I will also show how to do the exact same with this new mobile tracker hat. So give me a moment here as I switch over to my development environment. Okay, so I wanted to start the demo in Notehub.io. Now Notehub is set up like many other cloud applications you're already familiar with. Everything's set up on a project basis. So one project can have virtually unlimited individual Notecard devices associated with it. And if I want to peek into a project really quickly here, this isn't meant as a really comprehensive Notehub demonstration, but just enough to pique your interest. We can see recent devices that were connected to this project. Again, we can update Notecard and microcontroller firmware over the cloud. We can view individual data usage for individual devices. We can organize devices into fleets, so whatever sort of fleet organization you might want to use, you can accomplish that with Notehub. We can look at individual events, so this is the data sent over cellular by our note cards, and we'll drill into this in a bit. And the all-important routes, I don't have any routes defined in this project, but this is how we're going to actually route data from Notehub to Datacake. And there's a variety of settings, so one I'll point out here is the members settings. So this allows for role-based provisioning of various pieces of Notehub projects to other individuals in your organization. Obviously very useful when you start scaling up a project. So that is my 60-second overview of Notehub. What I'm going to do now is switch over to the Blues Wireless developer portal. Now, my favorite part of dev.blues.io is our integrated terminal. And I apologize for the small window size, trying to conform to the webinar standards here. So everything's going to be a little bit compressed. But what I can do here is hook up a note card and note carrier with a USB cable and connect it to my browser using the browser's Web Serial API. So this works in any Chromium-based browser like Chrome, Edge, or Brave. So right now I have a note card and note carrier A connected to my computer. And if I want to configure this as a standalone asset tracker, I'm going to issue a few different commands. And excuse me as I copy and paste here so I don't make any mistakes. A common first command I like to do personally is the card.restore command. And you'll see I lost connection because I'm restoring a card to scratch. This is helpful with demos, really, just to make sure I'm not already using this note card in some other project. So I'm going to repair my device. So now I'm starting a note card from scratch. Now really, for real now, I am going to issue the hub set command. What this is going to do is this is going to associate this note card with this product UID. So this is a unique identifier that's going to link my note card to a project in Notehub. I'm going to tell it to connect over cellular on a periodic basis. And that periodic basis is going to be every 60 minutes outbound. So outbound is relative to the note card. So if there's data to send it every hour. Inbound, again, this is inbound relative to the note card. Check for any incoming messages from Notehub every 720 minutes. So let me issue that command. And you'll see an empty JSON object is sent. That's the confirmation that everything was worked correctly. So at this point, with my note card attached to my project on Notehub, I can issue the card location mode command. And this is going to say, again, connect periodically. So this is the GPS command, or enabling GPS. So connect to GPS periodically. And we're going to sample GPS location every 3,600 seconds. Obviously, you can change that to whatever works for your project. And this is only going to activate GPS when motion is detected on the device. Finally, to start tracking, this is just so ridiculously simple. I'm going to call the card.location.track API, and I'm going to issue the start parameter, which means start immediately, the heartbeat parameter, which means even if there's no movement at all, still send a heartbeat every X number of hours. I'm going to say issue this every 12 hours. So I could throw this device in a box and ship it around the world as is. Now to just prove a point here, let me head back to Notehub, and I am in the demo project now. So we see that a device connected about a minute ago, which is great. So that's the device I just used. And we can look at any events that came through with this device. And again, I apologize for the small screen here. But we can look at some environment variables that were sent over. some session information. Let's just drill into one of these quickly here. If I drill into an individual event, we can see some metadata about that event, the location of the tower that it connected to, the body of the JSON here, and the full JSON payload as well, which is super useful for kind of debugging and seeing what's going on with your Notecard. Let's do the same exact thing now, but make some slight changes for my mobile tracker hat. So what I'm going to do is disconnect my note carrier A and reconnect a different note carrier A with my tracker hat. And let's reconnect. Looks good. And again, because I don't want to make a mistake, I'm just going to issue a card.restore. Okay, I can reconnect with that restore done. And again, I'm going to issue the same hub.set request, except for this time you'll notice I'm keeping cellular in continuous mode, but I am going to link it to the same project in Notehub. So that's all good. Now here's a new command. This is the card.aux command. This tells the device to look for an external GPS hat. And I can enable GPS with the card.location.mode command. And again, this time I'm going to put this in continuous mode. So I'll have cellular and GPS both running in continuous mode. And finally, I'm going to issue that same card.location.track command. This time I'm adding a sync true parameter. This is a handy one because it tells the note card that anytime we're adding data to a note file, anytime we're accumulating data on the note card, like sampling sensor data or location, actually immediately sync that to Notehub. So don't wait for that periodic sync, that periodic outgoing sync. So we're all good. Again, my new mobile tracker hat is now fully configured. So let's make sure this worked correctly by heading back up to... Sure enough, there is my new device. This is the mobile tracker hat. So we can again look in our events tab here, and sure enough, here is the some initial data being sent by my mobile tracker hat. Now this is all fine and good. I'm kind of just telling you to assume that this is all working fine. However, last weekend what I did was I took this same mobile tracker hat and I dropped it in my car for the weekend. So little did my family know, in this tracker project I was actually tracking our locations in the car throughout the entire weekend. So if I navigate to my events tab, we can see this long list of events that were tracked over the weekend. And if you have a keen eye, you may notice this _track.qo file. This is the default name of a note file that's saved in an asset tracking scenario. So if I want to look at one of these specific events, I can again see all the metadata associated with this event. But what's most interesting is in the full JSON object here. And we can see information about when this was tracked, the temperature on the card. So it was 23 degrees Celsius at the time. Must have had the air conditioner running. The GPS coordinates of where this location was tracked, as well as the tower coordinates. So this is the tower, the cell tower. Now I bet I can find another event with a, well, here's one I can see already. This just proves I had this in an overly hot car. Sure enough, I got up to 47 degrees Celsius, so a bit warm last weekend. Now, it's one thing to kind of browse through and look at all this data, one event at a time, but it's another to pipe this over to a cloud platform that's going to allow me to visualize this data. And I mentioned this briefly before, but if we head over to our Routes tab, this is where we actually configure Notehub to automatically sync this data securely with another cloud platform. Now, I don't want to steal too much of Simon's thunder here, but this is the UI that I'm going to use in Notehub to actually start migrating my data over to, say, AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, or, there's really a limitless possibilities here, especially with our general HTTP HTTPS request response. This is effectively saying any remote endpoint with a RESTful API we can send data to securely. So with that, I'm going to jump back to my slides quick and then send it over to Simon to show off the really cool stuff. All right, well, I hope that helped to cement how easy it is to get up and running with asset tracking. Just to quickly recap, it's literally only 3 API calls to set up a new tracker from scratch. In fact, you can add all of these commands to a single JSON file to make it easier to set up and deploy numerous devices. And again, when configuring the new tracker hat, the commands are very similar. Instead of using periodic mode for cellular, you can leave it in continuous mode. Note that periodic mode will always save some battery, of course. There's also a call to card.aux that tells the Notecard to use this external GPS. And again, GPS can also remain in a continuously connected state. And then there's the optional sync true parameter on card.location.track that tells the Notecard to perform an immediate sync to Notehub when notes are added. And finally, like I showed you moments ago, we end up with all this interesting and valuable data in Notehub. But Notehub is not meant to be the endpoint of your data. This is where Datacake comes in. So I'd like to hand the controls over to Simon now and let him show off how Datacake can help make sense of everything we have gathered so far.
Hello and welcome to the webinar with Blues Wireless. Today we are going to show you how you can connect your note cards in asset tracking mode or in any other mode to Datacake directly. And first of all, before we start, I would like to give you a short introduction into what Datacake is. So Datacake is an IoT platform which allows you to connect various devices from LoRaWAN, cellular devices using MQTT or webhooks. And today we will be using the webhook integration to integrate the Blues Wireless Note card using the Notehub to Datacake directly. We have different resources available, like a YouTube channel where you can see everything that is possible with Datacake and introduction and so on. You can also browse our website to see what we're actually doing. And we also, of course, got a large documentation page where everything is covered. So I would like to continue now and start. For this webinar, I have already placed my note card here on the table, which is already queued up on the Notehub. And let's start and get this onto Datacake. Datacake is a web-based, cloud-hosted IoT platform. It brings everything like dashboard builder, database, and payload decoders, and so on. So what you need to do is sign up on Datacake. Signing up on Datacake is free, and we always support up to 2 free devices. So that means you can try it out without entering a credit card or stuff like that. It's simply as registering on any other IoT platform or platform in general. And after you've logged in, I've created a separate account for this. This brings you into your first workspace. Workspaces on Datacake are things that hold devices, but also members. You can invite members by entering an email address and then automatically, by the way, switch to English and then automatically or select the permissions that you want this member to have and permissions for devices. Also for API users to query data directly from our REST API. But let's go back to the devices. And in this tutorial, I would now like to show you how you bring your note card on it. So first of all, let's go to the Notehub. This is the note card that's connected here. And I've just set it up using the example here in the documentation from Blues Wireless using this asset tracker here. It's connected and the data is already received on the Notehub, and we're now going to continue to bring them into Datacake. So back to Datacake. This is your first workspace. There are no devices in it, and everything starts by clicking on this button here at the top right, which brings up our device add device model. So now we select API here. You see the various types here that we support, and we are interested in API integration. And then we need to choose a product. So basically, a product is something that every device on Datacake belongs to a product, and a product is the definition of how a device behaves. So to make it super easy and fast, we've got a template section for various devices. So now we select on new product from template, and in here you find a Blues Wireless Notecard tracking template. We select that, we press on next, and now it is asking us for a serial number and for a name. We could serial number auto-generate that or use a Notecard user-defined serial number, but in this case we're going back to the Notehub. And we are going to copy the device UID because data coming from the Notehub will be matched based on device UID. And because of that, we are using this as a serial number. You can, of course, if you have custom serial numbers set on the Notehub, on the Notecard, you could use that as well, but we're using the device UID. We call that my Notecard asset tracker. We press on next and we choose a free device. As I've said, we support up to 2 free devices for everyone. We press on add device and this device is now added to your workspace on Datacake. So when we can already open this device up here. You can see it here in the table. Also, we could select some additional things here to show the serial number as well, the product and so on. And we can see that it's never connected, but we can of course open this up already. And this brings us to what's included in the template. So by using a template, we create a dashboard for you. It's the starting dashboard, which shows all the basic information coming from the Notecard asset tracker example. When you go into the configuration and you scroll down a little bit, you can see that there's all different kind of stuff like the HTTP decoder and also the fields for the database. You can add new fields here or you can modify them. But we stick with the starting template. And if we scroll a little bit up, you can see this is the HTTP payload decoder. And in here, you find the HTTP endpoint URL. Right now, the Notehub is already present on the Notecard is on the Notehub when it's receiving data. And the device is created on Datacake. But right now, there's no connection between the Notehub and Datacake. And this is what we're going to do now. And for this, we are creating a new route on Datacake. There's an old one. I deleted first. And then we go back to Datacake and in the configuration of the device. So once more, if you are on your device, you go into configuration, scroll down a little bit until you reach the HTTP payload decoder section. And there you find the endpoint URL. This URL is for that product and every single device that you add to that product receives data through that endpoint URL. We are now going to copy this back into the route section and we're adding a new route. So we simply name this like Datacake route and paste the route URL, the webhook URL that we just copied. We press on save and that's it. Now let's go back to the devices in here that we could see when it's last connected. And we are also going to Datacake. So now we go back to the dashboard and I have this Notecard here and I will connect it. So in a couple of seconds, it should be connected to the Notehub and send data to the Notehub. And this will be forwarded using the route directly onto Datacake. And yes, there it is. The first few informations have already arrived. I'm right now sitting in the basement of a building, so my home office, and there is cellular reception, cellular signal, but what we don't have yet is GPS. But we are getting the cell tower location, and using this template on Datacake, you can also display the cell tower location. So it takes just a few seconds, and then we will also see the cell tower. There it is, the cell tower location. And if we would be now outside, and if the Notecard would have good GPS signal, we could see and also track the historical informations. I will be showing this because it's a pre-recorded thing in a couple of minutes. So just to show you, or just a quick sum up of what happened. So we went into the devices, we added, you can see it's online right now. We added a new device using the API integration and the Blues Wireless template. You entered the serial number based on the device UID from the Notehub, and we created a route from Datacake to from the Notehub to Datacake. And this is all we need to do to receive data using a template. And the coolest thing about the templates is that it brings you the dashboard, the payload decoders, and of course the database section. And you can now modify everything. And in the next phase of this webinar, I would like to show you what possibilities Datacake has in terms of creating applications and white label things and alertings and so on. With the second phase of our webinar, and this is about the capabilities of Datacake. So we created just the device from the template and connected the Notehub and the Notecard to Datacake. This is what you get, your first dashboard, but still you're able to modify everything, starting with the dashboard. So we've got this dashboard editor, and you can access the editing mode by clicking on that switch button here at the red on the right side. And this will open up the drag and drop. What you see is what you get dashboard editor that allows you to modify the existing dashboard, also to modify the appearance and the settings of each of these widgets here. And also you can add new widgets, duplicate that, or copy the dashboards. Also, we got a mobile view. So it's two layouts for desktop and mobile. And mobile is when you open up the platform on a mobile browser. So this is completely mobile optimized, and you get this separate layout here, which you can override the mobile layout and the desktop layout. So this is what dashboard brings you. Let's go back into the configuration. As you can see here, when I scroll down, I mentioned it before, it's the payload decoder. And this extracts the information coming from the JSON on the Notehub. And if you include some additional sensor data for your project, it's simply as editing this payload decoder here. And as you can see here, we're accessing the different files in here, and then we're forwarding this to the device on Datacake. So this means that you can use this also as a starting template, and we've got extensive documentation how you can write these payload decoders, and you can modify them. Modifications that you do here to the payload decoder, to the database, and to the dashboard, they are saved into the product which that device belongs to. We can also see this here in the devices. And you can see here, okay, this is the product that I've just created at my device. So the next time that you add another note card, instead of creating this from the template and selecting the Blues Wireless note card tracking template here once more, you can choose the existing product, which is already here in your workspace, and then you simply can add multiple devices to it, and they all look like the modifications that you've done to the first device. So this is batch creating devices and then doing modifications and having these modifications for all devices. But let's go back to the Datacake platform itself. So now we've got this device. What else can we do in here? So we've got also a rules section, which allows you to create super simple if this, then that style rules, where we select this device and also a temperature, like a field, like the car temperature. And we simply want to check if this is larger than, for example, 35 degrees. Then, so this is the if this, then that style, please send an email or send an SMS or call a webhook. You could then send data back and send downlinks. Downlinks is something that works with LoRaWAN, MQTT, and we will also introduce this for webhooks for the note card. And you, let's go back to the email. You can add multiple receivers here. And the subject could be something more useful than I'm just typing here, and you have some kind of placeholder language for values that you want to show. Also, let's call this test rule. We create that rule, and you can see it here. You can pause that rule and create multiple rules. You can also chain different rules, like multiple conditions with an and or an or. Yeah, and this is a basic rule engine that allows you to send alerts to your email members, cell phone numbers, whatever. Also, there is like pretty interesting functionality, which is called a reports engine. Just a quick run through this, which allows you to, let's call it test report, SCADA reports that are run periodically, like this one every day at 12 o'clock. It includes all devices, and please include the voltage and the RSSI, for example. It will be created as individual files, and you could also send this to individual email receivers, press on save, press on save for the settings here once more. And for example, run this report now. Go into the report and you can see here, okay, this is my Notecard asset tracker, which is now being sent also as a CSV file to email to all of your report receivers in here. This was very quick because I would like to show you something now that most of you are mainly, I think, interested in, or is a highly popular feature on Datacake, which is our white labeling. So up until now, everything was happening on app.datacake.de. But if you want to present your solutions built on the Blues Wireless Notecard to your customers using your own domain, the white label package allows you to hook up your own company domain to the Datacake platform, and the Datacake reference will be removed everywhere, and you can upload your own logo. The white label package costs 49 euros per month, but it's unlimited tenants and unlimited users. And because of the tenants, more on that later. But I would like to show you now how easy it is to set this up. So we press on Get Started to walk through this setup dialog here. We need a name. We call that Asset Tracker Club, and the domain is assettracker.club. Also the email, which is for sign up, user registration, password reset, and the notifications. So alerts and of course the reports. And this is maybe like support at assettracker.club and asset support email team number 2, whatever, it makes no sense, but it's just for the showcase here. So we press on next. Yes, I want to buy this white label site for 48.31 euros because it's value added text in here. This white label site has been purchased. Everything is set up, and we can now go and do some settings here. So first of all, we upload a custom logo. I've got this here also created asset tracking club logo. We open this, save this, and as you can see here right now, this will not be changed because it's still on the Datacake. We can also upload our own terms of service. Yes, we want users to be able to sign up. So now let's go back into the DNS. I've created this domain before. So Lucas, our co-founder, has created this. Thanks, Lucas, for doing this work here. And then he has pointed the DNS service to that IP address. So we can now validate this here, I think. Takes some time. And then we press on email, where we can also see here the email templates and the device capabilities and so on. The DNS settings have been confirmed. So everything is great. The email right now, does not work because there's no email inbox behind it. But basically, this means that you have to create your own email inbox on your domain. Device types, we can choose what kind of device types are allowed on our white label, but also the capabilities. And if we want to have different device types, we also need to enable the billing in here. And the MQTT server can be taken out, the gateway monitoring, and the Cake Red, which is our Node-RED service. But the API, for example, we've got a REST API and an MQTT server and a GraphQL API. And they are also white labeled completely. So everything runs on your domain. So this means that even if your customers are using the third-party API integrations, they don't see Datacake at all. So back to the domain, back to general. Everything is set up correctly, and we're now going to copy this domain here and open this up in a new tab, Asset Tracker Club. And we can see it's the Asset Tracking Club web white label page, and we are going to log into this. This will bring us into a new workspace where there is no device, and this is where it looks different right now, because when you press on add device, you only see the pin code option. And this is something that I would like to show you right now, because this is a feature often used by many of our customers preparing devices in their manufacturing line or in their factory, and then shipping them out to their customers, and they print on a sticker with a barcode or with the serial number and the pin code. So this is also something. I'm in a different workspace here. So this is my own workspace. We could also create a new workspace for customer workspace, just to show you how this works. This is the tenancy feature. We are creating this workspace. Everybody has this feature, and it's an unlimited It's unlimited. You can create as many tenants and workspaces as you would like to. So we're in the customer workspace here. So imagine now you ship devices to your customers, Notecard devices, and then you want your customers to directly use it. You set everything up on your master workspace on the Datacake side here, and then we go into the devices here. We open up this device, and I show you how you can use the claiming to bring these devices to your customer. So let's go into the configuration, and we simply now copy the serial number, and there's this claiming option. So we simply put in a very easy claiming code so that I can remember it, copy the serial number once more, and then we go into the Asset Tracker Club web white label site. So now let's assume that I would be the customer registering on the Asset Tracker Club web label website, because white label site, because it was in the documentation. And then I press on Add Device, and now I paste the serial number, and then I just put in the PIN code and press on Add Device to Workspace. And now this device with the dashboard that you set up is added to the customer workspace, and he can, has access to it and can do everything, that you want him to do, and he can directly use that device. Has all the features like the rule engine, and also the reports. And he can invite members as well to it. Yes, and also, even if this is the Asset Tracking Club white label site, your automotive end customer is still on the white label site able to modify the logo on this workspace. So that means he can upload his own workspace logo, but it still remains on the Asset Tracker Club white label site. This is the white labeling. It's super easy to set up. You still get some individualization options like taking out device types, and also you can switch some capabilities on and off, and upload your logo, set your own terms of service for the sign up, and so on. And last but not least, there's one thing I would like to show you, which is also very important. We've got a feature called Global Dashboards. So the dashboard designer that you just saw was device specific. So that means that every device has its own dashboard, but you can also create global workspace dashboards. We call that overview. Create this, and this adds dashboard to the sidebar. And this is now a web-based or a dashboard that can host widgets for all of your devices. So if we put a widget in here, let's do this map widget here. And in the device and field, we can select the device and also the device location or the tower location. And we can place this here. And of course, we have access to all different kinds of widgets in here. We could also put in table widgets, a histogram, the chart, and so on, and display the data of multiple devices. Also, I've made this a public dashboard. That means that we can now copy this link here. And if we open this once more up in a new browser, we can paste this link here. It runs on your white label site. So you've got a public dashboard, which you can share to everyone. They are not required to sign on. So it's a public one, and you can enable the public dashboard feature or disable it. And it has your white label site logo. This is a basic example. Of course, you can create different kind of widgets on the public dashboard, which allows you to create overviews of your fleet or whatever. All done without any code, and super easy to do. Yes, so we're at the end of our webinar, or at least at my pre-recording. I hope we've got some time slots for questions and answering them. So this showed you how easy it is to bring the Notecard onto Datacake and to use the template to get a dashboard and be ready to start and work with it within a couple of minutes. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out directly to us using one of the contact methods on our webpage or using the live chat, which is also available on the app Datacake. But of course not on the white label side. And I would be happy to answer your questions and see you on Datacake. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Simon. And thanks again for everyone attending. Stick around here. We're going to answer some of your questions next. And make sure you check out dev.blues.io for a set of developer resources around the Notecard and Notehub. And you can use bit.ly/blues-datacake to take 15% off your purchase on the Blues Wireless store. And likewise, use Blues Wireless Datacake 2021 when subscribing to Datacake. You can take advantage of some higher device limits and discounts on the Datacake platform. And last but not least, be sure to check out the extensive Datacake developer resources at docs.datacake.io.